Greetings, friend, and welcome to the Between the Covers podcast, where we are working every day to remove the self-limiting beliefs that are preventing us from becoming the heroes of our own stories. I am Marcus Spar. Real quick before we get into today's topic, I do just want to remind you that if you are enjoying this podcast, if you're gleaning anything useful from it, then I'd greatly appreciate a rating and a review. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe, leave the video a like, and leave a comment as well. Lately, it has been just foisted to the forefront here of how long and difficult the hero's journey actually is. You can take a look at any literary, music, or video game heroes, comic heroes, whoever, and be able to see that, yeah, they tend to have very long journeys of multiple character arcs and people coming in and out of the adventure. And it's also something I have seen in my own life as well. And I will even admit that I am already feeling exhausted from this long and difficult journey. So one of the reasons why I talk so much about rest and doing things that bring us delight, because the work that we're doing here is very difficult. What has been coming up a lot, and I do try my best to not have this turn into a current news podcast where we're just talking about the recent events. Granted, this is going to be releasing about 3 months after the events here, so there's no way it can be current. Yet, it is so difficult when I see instances of people abusing their power. There are so many people out there who, unfortunately, are antagonistic, and I will remind you that antagonists are protagonists in their own stories. And that's one of the things that makes this challenging as well. There are people who believe that they are the heroes and doing a lot of good work, and yet it was just a week ago that there was someone else who has been killed by a rampant abuse of power. And there is so much out there today in particular that makes it really hard to know what the truth is, because stories are crafted, there's propaganda, artificial intelligence is being used to just muddy the waters of the narratives. And this is very hard. The times that we live in, granted, I don't really think there are any times that we could qualify as being good times. But the times that we're living through right now, here in 2026, these are hard times. We are seeing rampant abuses of power. We are seeing so many people who are not valuing human life. There's tribalism. There's so much that's being done in order to propagate a lie about what's good, what's right, what's not, what's real. And just more and more, we're seeing such a rise of fascism, and it's disheartening, to say the least. It's very disheartening. That doesn't mean that it's not important for us to continue doing this hard work of standing up for ourselves, standing up for others, of using our voices and speaking out against these people who are committing these atrocities. One of the worst things that we can do is to just relegate ourselves to being side characters in this narrative and just let the world go by and do whatever it's going to do. There are things that we can do. We've been talking about it a lot over the life of this podcast. There was also an experience that just happened over the weekend that is standing out to me as an example of how hard this stuff can be, how hard this work is. And that is about 2 years ago. I submitted an application to become a coach within the Center for Trauma Resolution and Recovery. And I knew it was a long shot. I'm not the most qualified when we're talking about knowing modalities that are more of a somatic experience. And I am still learning and growing in myself as a professional. But I decided, you know what? The answer is no if I don't ask. And Libby and I were taking a drive with Odin, and there was something that Libby needed to pick up. And as we were talking, I was explaining to Libby about some thoughts that I had been having. I've been wrestling with them for several weeks up to that point. And that has been pretty much to just reach out to the CTRR and just tell them, you know what, just remove my application from consideration. I have received several emails from them saying that they're not looking to hire anyone, but my application's going to be in there when they do look through them. And I have tried to do what I can in order to learn from these people. I have even reached out to individuals who run and work for this organization, and I just started getting radio silence, and that's challenging. That is very challenging when you have a history like I do of thinking and even believing that people don't value or want to hear what you have to say. Again, I knew that this was a long shot when I submitted the application. And I have expanded my search. There are some part-time jobs that I'm looking at getting instead to help supplement the work that I'm doing here for Between the Covers. And when I was finally expressing to Libby about these thoughts that I was having, thoughts I'm still having, about just saying, you know what, it was a lost cause, just don't even consider me anymore, I was overwhelmed with sadness and even a little anger when I was vocalizing what was going on within me. And on top of that, Libby had to run in for an errand. She was picking up, I don't even think it was an online order, but she knew what she was going in for. And I just stayed in the car with Odin, and I just opened up a new notepad on my phone and just started typing out my thoughts. And when I allowed myself the freedom to just say what I needed to say, to get these thoughts and use my voice to express what I'm feeling and what I'm thinking, I found myself back in that old place saying, no one cares what I have to say. my voice doesn't matter. And that's a hard place for me to be. I have tried to do a lot of work in order to continue uploading episodes. I have continued to do work in using my voice, sharing my story, trying to help others do the same. And I was finding myself falling back into that misery, that there's no point in trying. Why try? Why put myself out there when nothing's really going to happen from it? And this was disheartening even further because I think it was season 1 or season 2 of a podcast that is done through the CTRR, that they were talking with someone and this person was saying, hey, even if you're not qualified for a position, you should still apply because you don't know what's going to happen. And this person had done that exact same thing and had made some awesome connections and was in a position that she never would have found herself in if she hadn't taken that chance. And I have been one of those people who has taken those chances in the past. When I first started my journey as a coach, I was a part of the Husband Material community. It's an online Christian porn recovery community. And I took my chance at one point, and I sent out an email, and I remember even titling the email Leap of Faith. And there were some cool things that came from that. I made some good friends. I was helped to become a coach. I was trained. I was invested in. And I was inspired when I heard this story as the two co-hosts are talking with this individual, and they're just like, you know what? Just try. Even if you believe, even if you feel that you're not qualified, you should at least try. And so I did. And again, I know I'm repeating myself here. I knew it was a long shot. And yet, there was still that part of me that hoped that there could at least be a conversation. At least a conversation. And yet what I did receive was just form emails, just letting me know, hey, this is what's going on, which I guess in a lot of cases is better than most places when you're trying to apply. I at least have the benefit of being able to see for a couple positions I've applied for that I can see kind of where they are in the process. And so it's not so unknown and even uncertain. And I still found myself hoping that something could have happened. Hoping that I could have talked with someone. And when I tried to invite one of the co-hosts of the Sunday School Dropouts podcast to be interviewed for mine here as a hero study, because I still very much respect these people. I value what they have to say. I glean and learn so much from their conversations. They have helped me to learn and to glean some of my own experiences from fundamentalist, conservative religious circles that I have been involved with. They have helped me with my deconstruction. And I ultimately found myself disheartened on this night because I did reach out to one of the co-hosts, and I heard back that they were flattered, but they didn't have the time for it. Oh, but we also have many other coaches who are capable of kind of expressing the work and the views that are going on within their organization. It's like, yeah, great. I would love to have even just someone from there on. And then it was radio silence. Never heard back. I don't know how many people, how many of the coaches they actually reached out to. And you'd think by now I would be a little more used to this. I guess some of it was I was probably foolish enough to have just tried to put all of my eggs in that one basket, and I really shouldn't have. As I'm processing it, it's probably a key to what was going on. Is I put too much hope in this one outcome, and the outcome didn't happen. And I was still disheartened. Because one thing that is important for us to do when we are working to be the heroes in our stories is we do need to put ourselves out there. We need to try. And we need to learn how to wrestle with the silence, the rejection. We need to learn how to be okay with that disappointment, because things don't always go according to plan. In fact, I still say, I don't know why I bother planning anything, because things never go according to that plan. And that's just me being hyperbolic, I am aware. In the end, though, this journey and the work that we have to do, this is hard. This is difficult. It is challenging. It is challenging to be rejected. It is challenging to have some of your old wounds that, if they haven't scarred over, just get poked and prodded and start to fester, and you feel that pain again. It is very difficult for us to take sometimes the next step, even if we know what that next step is, because we ultimately don't have control over that outcome. And I think that's one of the things that drives us crazy the most when we're talking about the plans that we make. We try and control what we can, and yet there's a lot that we can't control. This is long, hard work. The road that we walk is not going to be easy. In fact, in a lot of cases, it's easy to just sit at the side of the road and not do anything. And in the times that we're living in, that can be even more pronounced. And when you find yourself with that despair, like I've been experiencing over the last 72 hours, it is important to know that this is a part of the journey. There's no way we are going to get to the end of our hero's journey without experiencing these hardships. These are the experiences that help us to grow. These are the experiences that prove to us whether or not we have the resilience to keep up and to pursue the progress that we are looking for. When you find yourself stuck on this long and difficult road, just know that you are in good company. Every hero has been down this road, and there are many who are walking right next to you, experiencing a lot of the same things. And this is one of those things where I wish I could say that it gets easier with time, but it really doesn't. It really doesn't. Not for these real gritty stories. Because in our lives, there is no happily ever after. There really isn't. There is no the end, we reached our destination and now we can just coast the rest of the way. Because we are going to continue experiencing hardships. We are going to continue experiencing despair. All the while, there will be moments of joy. There will be moments of delight. There will be times when we are successful. And there will also be times when things just, no matter how hard we try, do not go according to plan. Allow time and space for everything that's coming up. If you're like me and you're trying to find some work and you're trying to make it work for the demands and the stage of life that you're in, it's going to be challenging. If you find yourself not entirely certain where you're going to be in the next week, in the next month, are you going to have the money for rent? Are you going to have a job? Are you going to be deported? Are you going to be arrested? Or even worse, are you going to run into someone who does not value life? Just know that this is all a part of the journey. Let's do what we can in order to support ourselves. Press into your community. I so wish that I could have gone to the Indivisible rally that took place just over this last weekend, but unfortunately it just didn't work out. I really did want to be there, and then I find myself having to navigate that very fine line of how can I use my voice and how can I also make sure that I'm not going to put those that I love and care for in harm's way. When you have someone in your life like I do who struggles with anxiety, that is constantly something that I have to think about. If things are challenging for you during this time, just know you are not alone. There are so many here with you. Remember also that all of the great heroes, they didn't get where they are by trying to do things by themselves. Find those allies, find those friends, find the people who can hold the space for you. I am fortunate that Libby gave me the space to talk about it and then talk even more afterward while I'm in tears, expressing the sadness and the hurt that I'm experiencing. And I was able to reach out to Ben and Brandon and just give them an update and let them know where I'm at. And I found support from all three of those people. I wouldn't be able to keep doing what I'm doing if it wasn't for my friends, if it wasn't for my allies, if it wasn't for the people who are continuing to help me be a better person. Keep up the good work, and we'll talk again next week. And until next time, live strong for today.